going on, guys? We're back with another Hostile Q&A, and I know it's been a while, but I want to get to these questions. You guys put them up some time ago, and I'm going to start doing these weekly again. We kind of dropped off. Things have been really busy with the business. I'm kind of doing my own channel with the podcast and things like that. So it hasn't been very easy to get from, my podcast to the business to doing these Q&As plus training for a show. It's just things have been very, very busy, but I am going to make an effort to make sure these Q&As come back up once a week, either by myself or I might have Justin Harris on with me. And we may even have some fans come on from time to time and do some of these Q&As with us. So, but again, I always want you guys to know that the answers that you're getting, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a guru. The answers I'm going to give you are from my own experience and my own 20 years of bodybuilding and things that have worked for me and things that haven't worked for me. So I hope I can answer your questions the best I can. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. Carson Lifting says, is cardio after a workout fine if you've consumed an intra-workout or some sort of EAAs? Yep, I think it is fine. I think definitely I would never advise to do cardio before training. I mean, doing a little bit of a warm-up, like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's not cardio. I mean, like I would never advise doing a full cardio session before training, but doing cardio after training is fine, especially if you've had like intra R3 or some silo 9 or something to kind of replenish the muscle and start the recovery process. Ideally, the best way to do cardio, in my opinion, is always split it away from your training. But if you have time constraints because of work or family or anything else, then it's totally okay, and you got to get it in. It's better to get it in than to not get it in at all. NSAID99 says, when's the protein being released? Actually, we just finalized flavors last week. I'm really excited. We have, it took us some time. I sent back the chocolate peanut butter. The chocolate peanut butter I sent back probably 5 or 6 times because I just wanted more peanut butter, and I think we finally nailed it. The cookies and cream is perfect. We have a secret flavor that we're going to be releasing that I absolutely love, but everything should be out by Christmas time. And hopefully you guys will be able to get it for Christmas as gifts for whoever, or gifts to yourself. So we're looking at a December timeline, hopefully. Hugh616 says, what are your thoughts on cardio with a weight vest? My thoughts on cardio are very simple, and this is only in terms of burning fat. Doing cardio for cardiovascular reasons or for building endurance, that's something completely separate. But as far as just burning fat and maintaining muscle, my goal is always to just get my heart into a target heart rate zone, which is usually between 120 and 140. If you can do that without a weight vest, I don't think it's necessary. I'm not using the weight vest. Like when I do cardio, I'm not doing cardio to etch in any lines or any striations or get any more muscular or anything like that. So I don't really see the point of using a weight vest when it comes to just fat loss. My training with weights is what's going to build the muscle, is what's going to create separation and striations and density to the muscle, the hard look to the muscle. My diet is going to help me burn fat. My cardio is just an amplification of the fat burning process. So if you can get to your heart rate up to 130, 140 without a weight vest, I don't feel like it's necessary. Like for me, for example, people ask me all the time, well, what kind of cardio is your favorite cardio? And I tell them my favorite cardio is a cardio that gets my heart rate up the fastest. So some days I'll do the bike, I'll do the recumbent bike, and I'll sit there and I'll put the resistance up to like level 10, and that'll get my heart rate up really fast. And I'll do that for 40 or 45 minutes. Sometimes if I don't feel like, pedaling really hard, I'll jump on the step mill and I'll just trot along at level 3. If I'm on level 3, my heart rate's up at 130, 140. Now that's going to be different for everybody. I weigh 275 pounds. So just being on the step mill on level 3 is going to get my heart rate up. If you weigh 175 pounds, you're probably going to have to go a little faster to get your heart rate up. But the key is to get your heart rate up. Wearing the weight vest is not going to make you any leaner, any faster. It will get your heart rate up faster. Like if you, I'll use it this way. If you're walking outside, for example, because you don't have cardio available to you, right? Because of COVID or whatever. If walking outside with no weight vest isn't really getting your heart rate up, then yes, wearing a weight vest will get your heart rate up. But if you have access to cardio equipment that's going to get your heart rate up anyways, then I feel like the weight vest might be just redundant. It's not really necessary. So it really depends what cardio access you have. If it's just walking outside, then you might need the weight vest to get your heart rate boosted. David Gilmatin 50 says, hey, boss nutrition question. for you, and SOS if I sound like a complete dumbass, but when it comes to using olive oil for fats instead of avocado, I just can't eat them. Does it matter what grade I use? Cheers, boss. I'm assuming you mean what grade of olive oil. I think the purest grade is always probably the best, right? Because I think a lot of olive oils aren't really olive oils. They're mixed with vegetable oils like canola oil and stuff like that. So it's hard to find. I know a lot of companies aren't putting the actual amount of olive oil that's in the bottle on the label. So I don't really have a technique for getting the best olive oil. I just look for the one I think is the purest brand, extra virgin, cold pressed, whatever it may be. It's probably going to be a little more expensive. If you're obviously buying the cheapest one in a plastic bottle and it comes in a gallon, most likely there's very little olive oil in there. You're gonna pay for quality. So if it's a little more expensive, you're probably better off. But yeah, I think the better. Does it matter what grade you choose? I would say yes, because you want the olive oil because it's a healthier fat than using a vegetable oil. So look for extra virgin, cold pressed. Look for the price. Look for indicators that it's not a cheap, shitty brand, or do some consumer reports research and see what you can find about a brand that you did find, and see if what the reviews look like. That's always a good option too. So, but olive oil is a good, like when it comes to fats and diet, like I said, if it's not about health and it's more about macros, I know a lot of people that don't do well with avocados. So if you have to add olive oil, or coconut oil is a little different because it's going to be a little faster digesting, but if you have to add olive oil, or maybe you have to add nuts like almonds or peanut butter or something like that, that's okay. Sometimes you have to get in the fats one way or another. Will there be a line of Hosstile bandanas dropping soon? I don't think so. I think the bandana thing is cool, but I think there's other Hosstile stuff that I want to get released first. Maybe after we get all the Hosstile stuff released and we have some time, we'll work on getting the bandanas released. What I might do, it's a good idea. The bandana is really just the bottom of a shirt that's cut off. What I might do is maybe make a shirt with a sleeve that has something where if you cut off the sleeve, it'll already have the bandana print in the sleeve. So like, for example, this has, sacrifice without regret here. So if I cut this off and made it a bandana, it would already have the print on it. So maybe we can make a shirt that kind of has that built into it. So we'll see. Tommy Gunn says, looking good. Thank you. JKW 1963 says, best combination of supplements and gear for fat burning during fasted cardio. On the Hosstile channel, we don't talk about gear. The best combination of supplements is the combination we have. We're working on releasing a fat burner. The best thing to do for fat loss is not supplements or gear. I'm going to say this. If you can't get your diet right, it won't matter. And I'm in the supplement business, so I'm telling you the honest truth. If you can't get your diet right, it won't matter what supplements you're on, performance enhancing or not. If you can't get your diet right, it does not matter what you do. There is no way to outdo a shitty diet. Okay. So if you guys are looking to supplements to help your diet, you're looking in the wrong place. Get your diet adjusted to your body so that you can start losing weight. And anything you add on top of that is just an amplification. Okay. Fit Mouse Apparel says, when did you decide gyno surgery was the right decision? I was 360 pounds down to 240, but still have the lower chest fat. It's partially genetic in my family too. My upper chest is developed and it looks awkward. Well, first thing you have to do is make sure you actually have gyno and it's not just fat. So, and the reason I say that is it's genetic in my family as well. We all have a little bit of fat in this area. I carry, like, when I get shredded for a show, the last place I lose fat is my love handles and my pecs. So I know what it's like. And if there's fat there, that doesn't mean there's gyno there necessarily. It means you just need to get leaner. And you can't really tell until if you have gyno until you get extremely lean, and then you see whether there's a lump there or not. So I wouldn't worry about it. I would, if I was you, I would concern myself with getting rid of the fat and then seeing what's left after all the fat's gone. But you know what? Let me answer the beginning of that question. When did I decide gyno surgery was right for me? Was I was getting on stage and I had a lump there from gynecomastia, and I was like, this is not doable because now I'm shredded. I have no water, no fat on my body. And when I go on stage in certain poses, you can see a lump there, and it's not doable for a bodybuilding career. So I had to, it was after one or two shows where I noticed it was very noticeable. I went and saw a doctor, and I had the, I think it's the breast gland. I don't know exactly what the gland is called. I think I don't know, but I had the gland removed, and I haven't had a problem since. So Clay Knight says, how many exercises do you think is best per body part? It's going to depend on the person. Everybody's different. For me personally, bigger muscle groups, 4 exercises. So, or 4 or 5, depending on the day, right? Like if it's legs or back, I might do 5 exercises for back. I might do 5 for legs, but that's going to include hamstrings too. So I would say 4 is a solid rule for me for bigger body parts. And then for smaller body parts like shoulders or arms, I would say at least 3. I have done 4 for shoulders, but for arms, for sure, 3. I wouldn't go over 3 exercises for arms. Yeah, so just think bigger body part, you might need an extra exercise or 2. Smaller body part, you could probably get away with 3, maybe 4. But it's always in that range, right? 3 to 5 exercises. I usually don't. Some people go in, they'll do like 8 exercises, and it has worked. I've talked to some pros on the podcast that it's worked for, but it's just not my thing, right? I feel like 4. If you're doing a pro split where you have 1 or 2 body parts a day, I feel like 4 exercises is a pretty good number to go with, and 3 on a smaller body part. Blake Ackman says, love all your content, a little personal, but do you think you will ever do a cribs type video where you go through your home, cars, man cave, and some highs and lows of your career, etc.? I think it's a good idea. I'd like to. I'm proud of everything I have. I'm proud of everything that bodybuilding's given me. The reason I haven't yet is because we're still renovating our house. So me and my wife bought a home that's about 20 years old, and it was decorated in a very old school Italian way, which was beautiful for what it was, right? It had a very traditional look, a lot of Roman Colosseum stuff, and our style is a little different. We have like a little bit more contemporary style. So we've been kind of gutting the house. So I don't really want to do a tour until everything's finished, and then I probably will. But we've really taken our time. It's been about a year because the basement of my house is finished. So I basically live in the basement. I have a kitchen down here. My bar is down here where I have all my supplements. I have a living room down here. My office is down here, like where the studio is and everything. So I've been basically living in the basement since we moved in, and we're kind of redoing the upstairs, the main floor, and we're just taking our time with it. So until it's finished, I don't really want to do a tour because, you want everything to look good. So in time, I will. Andre Man Fitness says, if you had to pick only one exercise for triceps, which one would you pick? It's tough. It would either be tricep cable press downs, because they give me a crazy pump, or it would be skull crushers, lying tricep extensions, or skull crushers, because those I feel like are the best tricep mass builder. So I don't know if I had to only pick one. I think I'd go with skull crushers because I think it would end up giving me more size in my arms overall. Aguilar Daddy says, you and Jay talked about doing 20 sets per body part on training days. For legs, are you doing 20 total, or 20 for hams and 20 for quads? Well, it's tricky because I have 2 leg days, and one day is a quad dominant day and one day is a hamstring dominant day. So for example, like on Tuesday, for example, I'll go in and do a ham dominant day. So that day I'll do 20 sets for hamstrings. Now they're not all working sets. So, and that's Jay does 20. I probably do 16, and probably only 6 of them are like 6 or 7 of them are working sets. And when I say working sets, I mean like, 85% of your max or more. Max for 8 to 10 reps. So 85% workload for 8 to 10 reps. That to me is considered a working set. So I'm more in the 16 sets range, including all your feeder sets and everything. Jay's in the 20 range. But going back to your question for legs, if I was doing like a hamstring dominant day, I would probably do 16 sets for hamstrings and 4 for quads, leaving me with 20 total, right? And then on the reverse side, if I was doing my quad dominant day, I would be doing 16 sets for quads and 4 for hamstrings. Now, it might be more than 4. It might end up being 6, but you get the point. Like 80% of the workout is quad, 20% of the workout is ham. And on the hamstring day, it's vice versa. So it'll be 80% hamstring, 20% quad. I don't think if you're training really hard, you can do 100% of hamstrings and 100% of quads and get an effective workout, unless you're genetically gifted in the leg department and you don't need a second day. Most people nowadays like having 2 leg days, and usually they're set up the way I have them set up, where they have like a 1 day is more hamstring focused and 1 day is more quad focused. Martin Feely says, what are your thoughts on a calorie counting diet as opposed to a macro counting diet? I always like the macro counting diet myself, but only, how can I put this? Look, some of these rules are only going to apply to me. And I'm not saying they're the way that everybody has to do them. I like using single ingredient foods. Okay. So I don't like using, like when I say single ingredient foods, I say rice. Rice, when you look at the ingredient panel, what's it say? It says rice, right? Potato. There's no ingredient panel. It's just potato. Like oatmeal, it's just oats, right? There's no, but if I'm using things like bread or, white pasta stuff, you look at the ingredient panel, now you have like 6, 7, 8, 10 ingredients. I don't want to use that stuff. So I'm going to say I would rather calculate my food using macros, right? Than I would calories. But only from single ingredient foods. Okay. So I usually have 7 or 8 foods I choose, and those are the 7, 8 foods I use in various combinations when I'm dieting for a show. In the off season, I'll add some variety. Obviously, I'll have some bread, I'll have some bagels, I'll have some whatever in the off season. But when I'm prepping for a show, it's very simple: egg whites, chicken, steak, fish, whole eggs, and whey. Those six are my protein sources. Then I have rice, oatmeal, potato, sweet potato, and that's it. It's like 4 or 5. I'm probably missing something like cream of rice or something. There's like 4 or 5 carb sources. So total, I'm like, 10 to 15 foods, 10 to 12 foods max. And that's all I have to choose from. And I rearrange them in orders I need. And then if I want to add fats, I'll throw in olive oil, avocado, some nuts, maybe like almonds, or maybe some peanut butter, and maybe some fish oil. And that's about it. Those are my sources. So when you include the protein, the carbs, and the fats, I'm looking at about 20 different foods max. And I use those 20 different foods. They're all single ingredient, and I use them to mix and match the way I need to set up my program. But I like doing macro counts because it's just easier for me. I can look at my program and say, okay, I'm eating 200 grams of rice, and 200 grams of rice is yielding this look. And I want to get a little bit leaner. So you know what? I'm going to go to 175 grams of rice. I know 200 grams of rice is going to give me, I believe it's like 56 grams of carbs, depending on what rice you use. So I'm like, okay, I want to take away some. So I'm going to do 150 grams instead of 200. So I know I'm probably going to get 40 grams of carbs, roughly around there, from that 150 grams. So it's just how I started. Now, doing calorie counting is not wrong. It's going to be the same result regardless. If you're using the same foods, you're going to get the same result with using calorie counting methods. It's just, for me, since I started this way 20 years ago, I look at a diet. I don't even look at the numbers. I look at the amounts. So it's like, okay, I'm eating 7 ounces of protein per meal. I'm eating 200 grams of rice per meal. I'm eating 1 tablespoon of fats per meal, right? If I want to gain weight or lose weight, I don't necessarily even look at the numbers. I kind of know what they are roughly. That's why I picked the amounts I picked. But I'm not really looking at the numbers anymore now that I know where they're at. Now I'm like, okay, well, I feel like I need more protein, so I'm going to go to 8 ounces per meal. Or I feel like I need to get a little bit leaner, so I'm going to cut my carbs a little bit. So I'm going to go to 175 grams of rice per meal instead of 200. that's kind of always how I've done it, and it's always been the easiest way for me to do it. So that's just how I set up my diets and how I look at things. Now, when someone's on the podcast, I always say, like, what are your calories at? But that's just more to give the viewer or listener an idea of what the person's eating. But it's not the way most of us do it. Most of us adjust our diets based on the macro count or the weight amount of the food itself. Cloudy Mind 1985 says, best healthy peanut butter brand that you would use with Ezekiel bread. Thanks, by the way, best bread ever. As far as peanut butter brand, I don't really care, I guess. I should care, but I don't. As long as it's natural peanut butter and in the ingredients it just says nuts, I don't really care. Maybe I should pay more attention to detail on that one, but I don't really care if it's Kraft or if it's whatever the other, posh brands are. I don't really care. As long as there's nothing in it but nuts, I'm good to go. Muscle and Meow says, could I add 3 grams of Hydromax to Hosstility to make it an all-in-one pre-workout and pump, or would it counteract other ingredients? It's already an all-in-one pre-workout. You don't need Hydromax to add to it. You can add to it. It's not going to hurt the product. But it's an all-in-one product. I mean, that's how Hosstility was formed, right? You have citrulline, you have 6 grams of citrulline, you have 3 grams of NO3T, I believe 2 or 3 grams of NO3T. I don't have it in front of me right now, but that is enough to get you a pump. If you're not getting a pump, it means you're eating or your hydration is off. Those 2 ingredients together should be enough to get you a pump. If you want more, I would buy the Bloodshot, and that's more pump focused. I would buy the Bloodshot and add, instead of, like, I guess I'd put it this way, instead of adding Hydromax to Hosstility, I would buy the Bloodshot and add a caffeine pill, right? It's cheaper because the Hydromax is more expensive than caffeine pills. And it's Bloodshot has 5 different pump ingredients in it. So it's going to be better for you than adding the Hydromax to the Hosstility. So if you're looking to adjust something, I would do, and you want like more pump, I would buy Bloodshot and a caffeine pill, caffeine tab, capsule. Open the capsule in your shaker cup, and you have Bloodshot with a little bit of stim in it. Perfect, right? But if you're just looking for an all-in-one pre-workout, Hosstility is an all-in-one pre-workout. That is how we made it. If you haven't seen it, go to my channel. There is in a playlist. There's a playlist called, I believe, Hosstile Supplements. Click on it, and there's a video on Bloodshot, and there's a video on Hosstility. If you go through the Hosstility video, you'll see there is 4 different categories that we nailed with at least 2 ingredients minimum per category to cover all your bases for a pre-workout. There is nothing you need to add to it to make it any better. But if you want more pump and you're trying to get more of a pump pre-workout, buy Bloodshot, add caffeine, you're all set. Tips for someone thinking about, Harper Ben says, tips for someone thinking about doing their first show. Well, it's a very, very broad question. The first thing I would do is go watch a show first. Go see what it's like. Go see what the people look like. Go see what you're up against. That way, because, sometimes I see people getting ready for their first show, and it's like they've never seen a bodybuilding show before. They show up, they're way out of shape. They don't have any tan on. Their posing sucks. They really have done no homework. Do some homework. Go to a show. See what the winner looks like. See how conditioned he is. See what his color looks like. See what his posing is like. That's what I did. That way, when you go and you're going back to your gym to train, you have an idea of what you're like, what you want to see is already in your mind. You're like, okay, I know how shredded I have to be. I know what my posing is supposed to look like. I know what my color looks like. And then you have an idea of what you're shooting for. If you just go into it blindly, then you don't, you know what I mean? And don't think because you watch something online, it's the same. It's not the same. Go, if you can, go to a show and watch in person, because it's very different than seeing it on Instagram or on YouTube or anything like that. Okay. So that'd be my first advice. Second advice, make sure you commit. Don't give yourself any outs. Okay. If you're committed, you're committed. You're like, I'm doing the show. I don't care what happens. I don't care if I lose. I don't care about anything. I'm committed to the show. I'm going to give it every single ounce of energy I have, and then be very consistent. And that's probably the best 3 tips I can give you. If we're going to get a little more detailed, I would say find a coach. I don't believe in not having a coach. Some people out there think it's like a badge of honor that you like did a show on your own and nobody taught you anything. I think it's stupid and ridiculous to waste time with trial and error when there's hundreds of people out there that have really good information. You can contact Ben Chow. You can contact Justin Harris. You can contact any number of these online coaches and get a really good coach to help you with setting up your diet and your training. So when you get to your first show, you look the way you're supposed to look and you're not just guessing. So those are probably my best 4 tips I can give you off the bat. Big Beast JB Ray says, in your arm workouts, does it take many sets to get the blood and pump in? Either way, what exercises do you go to first to get the pump in the arms? Sometimes it does. That's why I don't necessarily love training arms. Sometimes it takes me a while to get a pump in my arms. And sometimes I go in there and it's great. It's like, right away. So I would say tricep press downs, give me a pump immediately. By the time I'm done that exercise, I usually warm up with it. So, after doing it for 6 sets, a couple warm ups and then four sets, I generally have a pretty good pump going into the next thing. And then for arms, I would say dumbbell curls. Seated dumbbell curls is a really, really good one to give me. Or even, I've been doing lately is I've been doing cable curls with a cambered bar. So I grab a cambered bar, set up the cable, and I do standing cable curls with the cambered bar. And it seems to, I think because of the cadence of the rep and the way the strength curve is, because the cable doesn't really give you any dead spots. So you kind of have to control the weight the whole way through, and I end up getting a really good pump from there. And then I can move on to like some heavier stuff with free weights. So those 2 exercises are probably my go-to. Building Bar, he says, hey Fouad, my question is this. When designing and formulating your products, how did you decide on the manufacturer you wanted to use? I've heard mixed things about finding a manufacturing team you can trust with consistent testing and quality standards. Thanks and keep up the great work. Love the Hosstile Subs team. So the first thing we did was make sure we had a GMP certified manufacturer that ensures that we're going to, they're not cutting any corners. And then the next thing was we tried to see, one of the things that I like to see is lead times. If a manufacturer says to me, I can produce your product in 2 weeks, it's worrisome to me because I feel like they're not taking their time. Our manufacturer, for example, it could take up to 8 weeks to get stuff manufactured and get stuff ready. And they don't do small runs. We do very large runs, and it takes some time to get them done. And it's okay. I like it that way. That means the quality assurance is there. They do their own testing they do randomized testing on our products as they come off the line. We get to see all the reports. We get all the batch testing. We get everything from them. There's nothing, everything's completely transparent. There's nothing hidden from us. And, I went before we locked in, it wasn't just a phone call. I flew there. I flew to the facility and they showed me around. They walked me around. They showed me how everything worked. We did some in-house testing of some products, and I felt very comfortable after seeing some other operations. I felt very comfortable with the manufacturer we went with. It's a very professionally run company. They, like I said, they don't cut any corners, and I don't feel like they're willing to sacrifice their quality or their reputation just to add another client, right? Because I think some of these people just want to add as many people as possible. Hey, we'll manufacture your stuff. I'll have it ready for you 2 weeks. We can do runs of like 200 if you want. And I'm like, that's a little worrisome. I'm like, how many of me do you have? You must be manufacturing for like 800 companies. And how perfect is it going to be? How, so I feel like not trying to sell me on time and, I just felt like they're like, look, this is how things work. It's going to take this much time. This is how things are done. This is how it has to be for the quality to be where you want it. And they were very confident in the way they did things, and it sold me on. And then that in combination with seeing their facility, the fact that they're GMP certified, it made me very comfortable, to be honest with you. I'm very satisfied with the choice we made. Their flavoring is probably the best in the industry. They do their own in-house flavoring, and it's amazing. So yeah, there's a number of different factors that go into choosing a manufacturer. Some people it's for some people it's money. For some people it's how fast can I get things turned around. For some people it's how small of a run can I do so that I can order more stuff and get more products out. None of those things were factors for me. For me, the main factor was how good is the quality coming out, and we will work around your timeline and all that. We'll make it work. And yeah, so that's how it went. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share with your friends, and like the video. And if you get a chance, check out the description for all the different links to all the different places you can find Hosstile and myself. And lastly, check out hosstile.com for our new line of supplements and all of our apparel and gear. Thanks again for watching.